The Hellfire Ramparts is the unofficial first dungeon of the Burning Crusade. For killing mobs here, you get Honor Hold Reputation if you're Alliance, Thrallmar if you're Horde, up to Honored in normal mode, and up to Exalted on heroic mode. To zone in to the heroic mode, you'll need the Flame Rod key, which you get at the Revered level with those factions. This is a guide for heroic mode, but you can of course adapt it to normal. You can find it in the Hellfire Citadel. The Ramparts is the bottommost door of the three, the one without the gate. If you don't have flying, there are paths to the north and south that you can walk on. Ramparts is one of the easier dungeons on both normal and heroic. You should start off the dungeon with a totally funny joke that no one will laugh at because they simply don't understand your unique wit. Most every mob in here are humanoids, which means that they're susceptible to polymorph, sap, seduce, mind control, and depression, and magic dust if it doesn't get nerfed. And for all of these heroics, I do want to round up what is mind controllable and what isn't. Mind control is an incredibly useful tool in these heroics, as they reduce the size of these packs by 1, so make sure you make use of it if you have a priest. And lastly, there are also some non-elite dogs that you can hibernate, should you see the need to do so. In these heroics, you'll find out pretty quickly that the bosses aren't the real problem. It's more the trash packs really, so if you find yourself wiping, a little crowd control goes a long way. In these videos, I won't be going over the entire run pull by pull, more just focusing on pointing out the more tricky enemies, bosses, common wipe spots, and trash skips. Hungers are your tank mobs, who exist mainly to absorb damage, so pretty low kill priority here. They do have a disarm though, which is pretty annoying. And Raveners are your rogues. They deal decent damage as they are dual wielders, and they also have a kidney shot, so be aware of that and give the tank extra heals if he does get stunned. The Destroyers are going to be one of the more dangerous mobs, as they have Mortal Strike, which reduces healing on your tank, Sweeping Strikes, which will cleave your melee DPS, and a knockback that'll drop threats, so your tank needs to taunt it back. So you either want to kill them fast or CC them. In general, these are bad mobs to leave up because they'll just make everything more difficult. Archer's aimed shot and multi-shot, so stun them and also spread out a bit. Darkcasters by their name may lead you to believe that they fear, but they in fact do not, just a rain of fire and a scorch, so they're pretty easy to deal with. A common thing that wipes groups is that they underestimate the walls. You'll have these in Ramparts and Shattered Halls, and because they're non-elite, you wouldn't really think that they're a big deal. Well, they are. They hit very hard, at least as of the beta, so just don't underestimate them, and ideally you stun and kill them first since they have low health. Your first big pull, and this is a spot where a lot of pugs wipe, is a Ripper surrounded by 4 Scryers. The Scryers, unlike the Darkcasters, do have a fear, so I really recommend you to CC what you can or pull them all the way back around the corner in line of sight so they A, gather nicely around the tank, and B, if someone does get feared, you won't pull the next pack. If you have a Shaman with Tremor Totem, you can effectively ignore the ladder point. And trust me, this is a line you'll hear many times throughout these video series because nearly every dungeon in BC has really punishing fear mechanics. The next pull of note is the Beastmaster. He'll be chilling with a couple of Destroyers, and the best way to handle this is to CC the Destroyers if you can, and just burn down the Beastmaster. If you leave him alive for too long, he'll actually play the Bahamed's 1999 hit single, Who Let the Dogs Out, which is bad enough, but he'll also summon some, so the best way to handle it is to just not fall into that hole to begin with. If your group is lacking CC, be mindful that the tank is going to be tanking 3 mobs and taking Mortal Strike, and your melee should be extra careful because 2 sets of Sweeping Strikes will insta-give them. And there's also a Wandering Patrol behind all of this, so all around a tricky pull that I wanted to mention. And shortly after, you'll come across the boss patrolling around the area, the Watchkeeper Gargolmar. You can pull him without the surrounding trash. Just wait until he pats away, then pull the trash back, kill him, and then pull the boss. He does have 2 Watchers on his side who will heal him when he calls out for it. You can CC these. As you can see, we CC'd one until we killed the other. If all else fails though, they can be interrupted, stunned, and are susceptible to cast slowing effects like mind-numbing poison or the Curse of Tongues. Once they're dead, you just have the big boy to deal with, and he's pretty straightforward. He will occasionally charge the person furthest away. Make sure that's not your healer. He'll use Retaliation, which will instantly counterattack melee attacks, except from behind, which is where your melee should be anyway, and a stacking healing debuff, but really, unless your group is AFK, He should die long before this becomes a problem. If you got the Weaken the Ramparts quest, make sure to loot his hand, which turns out to be a blade, which intrigues me enough to wonder about his self-pleasure habits, but not enough to actually investigate. Maybe that'll be in a follow-up video. I do also want to note that you can get away with leaving most of this trash on the far wall up if you hug the inside track as much as possible. Just wanted to mention that for those looking for a speed clear. Like I said, for all of these guides, I will mention trash skips when appropriate.
I might be dead.
I got it.
It's fine.
Continuing past him, you'll ascend a tower, and at the top, you'll have another Ripper and Scryer pack. Same strategy applies, CC what you can, don't let the Scryers fear you into the next room. A lot of groups just pull these around the corner and AoE them down, which I do recommend if you have strong enough AoE, aka you have a Chad Warlock in your group. But really, they don't have a lot of health, so a less cool mage will also suffice. This next room is another wipe spot, as it's quite crowded. You have 4 packs with a patrol walking around, and the best way to handle it is to pull everything back. Don't fight in the open. Pull everything around the corner, try to CC it in this hallway if you can. My group, as you can see, just AoE'd it. If you do AoE it, again, just watch the damage on your tank because there are destroyers here who will use Mortal Strike. And we do have another trash skip here. This pack to the immediate left as you're entering the room, you can just walk by. Head to the right to find the second boss, Omor the Unscarred. He'll occasionally summon Fellhounds, which need to be addressed. They are demons, so if you have a Warlock, Banish is a good idea. Otherwise, you'll need to kill or CC them because they will cast Mana Burn on your healer, and just wreak havoc in general. 90% of the wipes on this guy is due to the group ignoring the Fellhounds. He'll cast this debuff, which causes you to deal damage to all nearby party members. The best way to handle it is to spread out, and if you're in an all melee comp and your healer can't keep up, have the person with the curse run out when they get it. And if the tank gets it, the melee would have to run out. He'll also knock people up in the air, so make sure that you stay in the middle of the platform. It also drops threats, so the tank will have to taunt it back. And he'll also cast Shield Wall at low health. But that's pretty much it. In summary, kill the dogs, don't AoE each other, keep your bars full, and try to make his empty. One last tip is that this fight is mainly shadow damage, so if you have a priest or pally, make sure that they're using their shadow resistance. And lastly, Nazan, the third and final boss, you'll find by exiting Omor's platform and hanging a right. He'll engage as soon as you kill these sentries below him, so make sure you mana up before that pull. And for phase 1, he'll bug off his orc friend, Vazruden, who just needs to be tanked. Nothing really to worry about with him, he's just a simple orc. The real threat is in the skies. Nazan will occasionally drop fire on your party, just like Onyxia, and unlike Onyxia, a fire patch will be left behind, so don't stand in it. In general, there's a lot of fire damage in this fight, so if you have a pally, use fire resistance aura, or if you have a shaman, use their totem. And keep in mind, your ranged can hit the dragon in this phase. When the orc hits 45% health, or the dragon 25%, the dragon will come down and join the fight, and your tank needs to pick him up ASAP. And when he lands, he'll act just like any dragon. He has a fire breath, so the tank needs to face him away, and this will also drop a fire patch on the ground, so you'll also need to move him. And he will occasionally fierce, so try not to even be near a fire if you can, lest you get feared into it, and drop tremor if you have a shaman. And he'll continuously shoot fire at your ranged, same as when he was in the sky. So overall, again, lots of fire damage, and if you're dying to it, consider fire protection potions or resistance auras. The loot for this fight can be found from a chest that spawns right here at the edge of the room. And that's the Hellfire Ramparts in a nutshell. In my opinion, a good dungeon to start off if you're new to heroics, if you want to ease yourself into it. This is the first of many heroic guides I have planned. Trust me, they get way harder than this. If you enjoyed this one though, I will have a playlist to the rest in the description that you may find handy, as well as general tips and tricks that you can use in all of these heroics in the game. Like the video if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Farewell for now, mortals. We hope you enjoyed today's video. See you again soon.